What's up, Vikings fans? Buckle up, because the Minnesota Vikings offseason just cranked up another level, and the last few days have delivered pure intrigue, speculation, and that familiar purple buzz we all live for. Coaching shakeups, quarterback whispers, and a former Vikings star tossing gasoline on the rumor fire. This is the kind of off-season drama that keeps us refreshing our feeds non-stop. Off-season week number 3 is trying to put a punctuation mark on itself, but instead, it's opened up 3 brand new storylines that could shape the future of this team. A potential new offensive line coach, a veteran quarterback floated as a trade option, and Kyle Rudolph stepping into the spotlight with a bold QB endorsement. This is the second purple rumor mill of the week, and it's loaded. So grab your coffee, drop a comment early, and let's break down what all of this could mean for the Minnesota Vikings and where this thing might be headed next. The Vikings rumor mill never sleeps, and right now it feels like it's running on jet fuel. 3 different angles hit Minnesota almost at once, and none of them are small. We're talking coaching structure, quarterback direction, and front office philosophy colliding in real time. Every offseason tells us something about how a team thinks, and these rumors hint at urgency. Minnesota knows 2026 can't be another year of almost, and that pressure is shaping every conversation behind the scenes. The question for us fans is simple. Which of these rumors actually has legs, and which ones are just off-season noise designed to stir the pot? Let's start in the trenches because everything in the NFL still begins up front. A new name has suddenly entered the Vikings' orbit, and it's one that should grab your attention if you care about the run game finally taking a leap. Dwayne Ledford, longtime offensive line coach and run game coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, may be available. With Atlanta reshuffling its staff, Ledford could hit the open market at exactly the right moment for Minnesota. For a team that's invested heavily in offensive line talent but hasn't consistently seen elite results on the ground, this is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often. The Falcons' staff changes were outlined by SI.com, noting that Atlanta has hired Kevin Stefanski to take over the franchise. With a new head coach comes a new vision, and that vision includes Bill Callahan stepping in to coach the offensive line. That move has a domino effect. If Callahan arrives, Ledford becomes expendable, instantly making him one of the more intriguing offensive line minds available this offseason. The moment his name surfaced, it was only natural for Vikings fans to connect the dots. Ledford's reputation is built on structure, communication, and physicality in the run game. He's known as a stabilizing force, someone who brings clarity to blocking schemes and accountability to every snap. That matters for the Minnesota Vikings, because talent hasn't been the issue. Consistency, identity, and push up front have been. When a coach like Ledford becomes available, offensive-minded teams across the league take notice. Minnesota should absolutely be one of them. SI.com's Will Ragatz didn't mince words when discussing the potential fit. He pointed out that the Vikings already have the pieces of a strong offensive line in place, from Christian Darrisaw to Brian O'Neill, along with emerging contributors like Will Fries and Donovan Jackson. Health will always be a factor, but coaching is just as critical. A new voice, a new system, and a renewed emphasis on the run game could unlock something that's been missing. And let's not forget the numbers. Under Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings have never finished above 22nd in EPA per rush. That's not just a stat, it's a warning sign. This is where the conversation gets real. Minnesota's run game hasn't lacked talent. It's lacked oomph, identity, and consistency. If Ledford were to step in, he'd likely also assume run game coordinator duties, reshaping how this offense functions on early downs and in short yardage situations. For a team trying to support a young quarterback and control games late, that kind of hire could be quietly massive. Now let's pivot to the position that dominates every Vikings offseason: quarterback. Because no matter how good the roster looks, everything hinges on who's under center. This week, ESPN's Kevin Seifert added more fuel to the fire by addressing Minnesota's quarterback uncertainty head-on. The message from the front office was clear. They can't afford to gamble again. After what happened in 2025, counting on progress without a reliable backup plan is no longer an option. Quarterback acquisition is hard, and the Vikings learned that lesson the hard way. So naturally, Seifert surveyed the league's quarterback carousel, and a familiar name popped up. Geno Smith was mentioned as a potential trade candidate, currently with the Las Vegas Raiders. On paper, it's an interesting name, but it comes with plenty of debate. Smith ranked 27th in NFL QBR this past season, a sharp drop from earlier years where he was viewed as a legitimate comeback story. Still, experience matters, and that's what keeps his name in the conversation. Looking at Smith's EPA plus CPOE rankings over the last 4 seasons tells the full story. He ranked 7th in 2022, then slid to 14th in 2023, 15th in 2024, and all the way down to 28th in 2025. That trajectory matters. It suggests a quarterback who peaked and has been trending downward since. Yes, he once threw for over 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns, but that version of Geno Smith feels farther away now. For the Minnesota Vikings, Smith would be more of a sideways move than a true solution. The appeal is obvious. Geno Smith has experience, he started big games, and he could theoretically support J.J. McCarthy as a bridge option. But the cost complicates things. Smith is under contract through 2026, meaning Minnesota would have to send draft capital to Las Vegas to make it happen. And when you weigh that against his recent performance, the value becomes questionable fast. Then came the name drop that really got fans talking. Kyle Rudolph, a longtime Viking and respected voice in the locker room, weighed in on the quarterback situation during an appearance with Kay Adams. Rudolph didn't hold back. He floated Mac Jones as a quarterback Minnesota should at least explore. When a former player speaks up like that, people listen, especially when that player knows the building and the culture. Rudolph also mentioned Aaron Rodgers, acknowledging that if Rodgers wants one more run with a talented roster in a familiar division, Minnesota would be an intriguing spot. But Jones was the name that stood out. Rudolph's logic was simple. Kevin O'Connell has a reputation as a quarterback whisperer, someone who consistently gets the most out of his signal callers. In that context, Minnesota becomes an attractive landing spot for any veteran quarterback looking to revitalize a career. Rudolph even mentioned Tua Tagovailoa as another hypothetical option, reinforcing the idea that the Viking system can elevate quarterbacks. But there's a reality check here. The San Francisco 49ers have already indicated that Mac Jones isn't necessarily for sale. That doesn't mean he's untouchable, but it does mean Minnesota would need to come strong with an offer that's impossible to ignore. And that brings us to the bigger picture. All 3 of these rumors, Ledford, Geno Smith, Mac Jones, point to the same underlying truth. The Minnesota Vikings are exploring every possible path to stabilize and elevate this roster. They're not locking themselves into one idea. They're gathering information, weighing costs, and preparing for multiple scenarios. That's what smart teams do, especially after a season that didn't meet expectations. For fans, this is both exciting and nerve-wracking. Do you invest in coaching and trust internal development at quarterback? Do you trade for experience and risk stalling long-term growth? Or do you swing big and hope O'Connell works his magic again? These are the questions shaping Vikings news right now, and the answers won't come all at once. Some of these rumors will fade. Others will evolve into real negotiations. A few might shock us entirely. That's the beauty and the chaos of the NFL offseason. So now I want to hear from you. Which rumor excites you the most? Dwayne Ledford fixing the run game? Geno Smith as a veteran bridge? Or Kyle Rudolph's idea of kicking the tires on Mac Jones? Drop your thoughts in the comments, argue it out with fellow fans, and let your voice be heard. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Minnesota Vikings news and rumors, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with every Vikings fan you know. This offseason is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Purple Heart American Football.